Hello, Ryan here, aka Mac, and welcome. Today I would like to delve into the Persistent Universe Monthly Report, letting you know about a lot of the development that went on over the month of September. As always, a huge thank you to all of my patrons and channel members, in particular to my latest channel member, Dredica. Thank you so much for the support, it is truly appreciated, and if you do enjoy my videos, please do consider subscribing and helping the channel to grow. So for the AI features team, they focused on ensuring that the Pyro female characters are up to the same standard as the male counterparts, with recent work including retargeting, combat, and social animations. And on the code side, the team worked on Persistent Universe performance for the upcoming patch, and solved issues involving NPCs not reacting to players pointing guns at them. For the animation team, they ensured that all the male animations are available for the female character as well, plus they created the initial animations for a new creature. Would love to know which one this is. For the character art team, they finished the Headhunter outfit and progressed with the Duster's outfit, alongside exploring ideas for fauna and medical backpacks, as well as preparing handoff sheets for a racing suit. So a few points to make here. The Headhunters gang, I believe, are in Pyro, whereas the Dusters are from the Stanton system, but Narrative have been working a lot, fleshing out the various occupants of Pyro to make them feel like they belong there and not from Stanton. It is also great to hear more work for fauna. We are hearing more and more about the creatures and animals in this report, so hopefully we see something soon, but it's also interesting hearing about wearables and items that are being created to support various gameplay careers like medical and racing. Now for the ship art team, a new variant was completed with final bug fixing and polish currently underway. The white box for one of the new vehicles mentioned in the previous reports is nearing completion, and last month the team solved some of the space issues, opting for smaller beds with a tighter layout, and they also separated out the base model from the variant. Now this sounds like a whole new lineup and one with a bed, which is always useful, but they do mention that this is a vehicle. They don't refer to it as a ship, which wouldn't be the first time, but I feel this could be maybe a small ground vehicle of some type that has a bed inside. Now I really hope this is the case, as this would be great for ground exploration, filling up your lockers and internals with food and drink, and then just heading out in a random direction, logging in and out from your bed. I really hope that this is the case, as I think that would lend quite nicely into the PU right now. Now the Apoa Santokiai is almost content complete, including cockpit animations that heavily lean into the alien language. The interior damage pass is also nearly done, including a new map generated specifically for Apoa. Upcoming tasks include a lighting polish pass before the level of detail pass. And as we saw on the recent Inside Star Citizen Sprint report, this ship is looking very cool. I especially like that they are developing new unique materials for the Xi'an Empire based on what resources are available in their worlds. This will also heavily tie into the economy and physical damage system as well. Finally, for the ship teams, work continued on remote tractor beam gameplay, including how the hardpoint should be used to create the best player experience. And as we have seen, ship tractor beams will be releasing in a 321.x patch, and the chances are this will be for around the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo, which happens late in November. Now for the audio team, they focused on the Pyro system, ensuring that all the essential sound effects were implemented. They also finished tasks for several upcoming ships, and are now actively working on the new UI thruster and component system. So nice to hear that audio are progressing with the component system. As we know, they are working to apply audio to all components, so as you walk around your ship and walk past each component, you will hear each one making a sound. And I suspect that these sounds will differ depending on the state and condition of each component as well, so you should be able to tell if there is a problem or a fault with one, even just by listening to it. Now alongside essential bug fixing, the audio code team refined the recently introduced resonance tech and continued to develop the Walla system. Now, moving on to the economy team, they set up shops at 3 jump point stations to provide the Hull C and other cargo ships with additional trade routes. Now, I find this very interesting, and likely why they wanted to bring in all the jump point locations, including Terra and Magnus, as of course these two systems are not coming anytime soon, and the Hull C is expected to haul trade from each cargo deck station to the other, meaning that there were only 4 viable spots being the main LEO stations that serve each planet, but now they have added the 3 jump point locations, which are significantly further away than any of the LEO stations, allowing CIG and us, the players, to test hauling over a longer distance, which will impact many other aspects of Star Citizen, like the economy, piracy, escorting, and of course, cargo hauling. So great to see these new locations with a greater distance between them, so I can finally be this big ship hauler that I've always wanted to be. The economy team also supported other teams, like the character art and Interactables team, with pricing for new player equipment, and finally the tool that extracts live game data to help inform the profitability of various gameplay loops and assets in balancing was completed. Now this is great news, as a tool to help with this will be vital, and now that it's completed, it should mean that they can properly tune and balance the economy to the scale and speed that it needs. Now for the engine team, a large portion of the core engine, physics and entity team's focus was on release support. This included optimizing the code, looking into server-side memory consumption, and fixing memory leaks. And these improvements will appear in public releases over the next few months. Now this is all part and parcel of this quality of life update that we are seeing in regards to optimizing and stabilizing, hopefully making what we have a lot more solid and playable, which is something CIG are focusing on for the foreseeable. Now on the renderer side, transitions towards the final version of Gen 12 continued. This included enabling the render graph, which can utilize the GPU better with less CPU cost. And CIG have been in the process for some while, spreading the workload across the GPU and CPU rather than Star Citizen being mostly a CPU intensive game, so it should help all of us to run the game a little better as things will be more balanced. Also, the streaming system received improvements, with the team saying we no longer need to maintain a separate code path and instead update all of our objects from within the rendering callback. This reduces code complexity, as we only need to maintain a single code path going forwards, and reduces memory consumption as well. So great work there from the engine team. For the editor, time was spent enabling entity streaming code to allow the designers to work with the persistent universe's significant amount of content more easily, and this was done last month as the team first had to get the foundation of streaming working, and the editor also has more complexity than the pure game, as objects can also be modified. And then for the physics side, it says the team is currently adding numerous improvements to the simulation, which says will be revealed soon. Now my guess is this is talking about the physical damage system, hopefully to be shown off at CitizenCon, as that would be pretty cool. And finally, the engine team supported the network team on server meshing and worked with the location teams to make more efficient use of low-level engine resources. I am so excited to hear what the latest progress is on server meshing. Hopefully it is all good news at CitizenCon this year, and we can finally progress beyond Stanton. Now for the character and weapon features team, alongside fixing a significant number of bugs for 320, many of the features worked on this year received a second pass to improve the quality and feel. For example, the slide mechanic saw updated velocity curves with steeper initial acceleration alongside improved screen effects. Now it will be so nice to see many of the Tier 0 or Tier 1 features get their second round of updates, just to push them beyond that rudimentary state and into a more polished state that will definitely help improve quality of life. But in regards to this slide mechanic, this is referring to the character's ability to perform a short slide to get to cover to help when in combat. And I know they have said that terrain will be taken into consideration when performing a slide, so hopefully it feels natural and realistic and not too overly gamified. Now for the new prone motion set, work was done to stabilize the player character's wrists in first person, and some initial updates were made, although the team now has a longer term plan to further improve the visuals. So very thankful to hear that the crouch, stealth and now prone mechanics are getting improvements, as these have really made the characters feel pretty odd in comparison to all the other animations in game, and they are in dire need of improvement. So moving on to the gameplay features team, the EUPU team continued working towards the release of ship tractor beams, including an update to the general salvage HUD as we saw on Inside Star Citizen, which allows the player to use the tractor beam and salvaging beam at the same time while providing tractor beam information as well. And this will be great for when we can slice off bigger pieces of a ship and then tractor them into the hold. Several important bug fixes were made for 320, including instability problems with server performance and adding a temporary fix to the speed of hull scraping. So very happy to hear about this temporary fix, as it is painfully slow right now, but it must be more complicated than just being able to speed it up if a temporary fix is required. The gameplay features team also made significant progress on structural salvage, which was formerly known as munching, and continued their work on the resource network. So about time the name changed from munching, as it doesn't really suit it and it is clearly more technical than that. But the resource network is where all the ship components communicate between one another to make the ships function. So moving on to the mission features team, they continued their work on modularizing the new player experience, with New Babbage receiving the first working version. And again, we saw this on Inside Star Citizen's Sprint Report, and eventually all of this work will be applied to all landing zones in Stanton to help any new player find their feet for the first 30 minutes of gameplay. Various mission content was also worked on, including the reactivation of the Crusader platform missions, which tentatively passed its go-no-go review. And now with these new additional platforms, there are 3 more additional platforms, the locations will hopefully be a bit more varied, which will be nice. The Blockade Runner event also progressed through development following internal playtests and feedback. The Steel Evidence mission also passed its go-no-go review and has been activated for Alpha 321, while the design for a courier version of the Steal and Recover cargo mission moved into production. Plus, further polish was made on Data Heist, including internal playtest in prep for its debut, which I believe is at Security Post Korea. The Siege of Orison version 1.1 entered the quality assurance test request phase, where it will be tested for stability and performance issues ahead of future activation. The team also continued to look at and balance the cargo manifest system for bounty hunting and salvage missions, and designs were pitched for long-term reputation goals. And then finally, the ship Trespass has passed its gate review and is approaching a release-ready state. Now this we also saw on Inside Star Citizen, and it looks like they have fixed the remaining edge cases. However, I am sure that as players get their hands on this feature, we will find many more. Now, for the vehicle features team, they focused on bug fixing and quality of life support for 320. The flight balance, health, and stability for some ships were tweaked to improve overall balance, and the team provided feature support for the resource network, allowing items placed inside interior object containers to be connected to the network, such as doors and lights. And this will be a nice addition. Nothing ultimately exciting or important, but having more control over the doors, over the lighting inside the ship, will be nice and very immersive. Now next up we have the graphics, visual effects programming and planet tech team. The graphics team progressed with the new water solution, and rendering systems now have their fundamental building blocks complete and are currently being balanced to ensure they look good under the game's huge variety of conditions. Now, R&D on Global Illumination was merged into the main branch to see it working across various persistent universe locations. However, a lot more work remains, including major aspects like moving zones, characters, and optimizations. And I bet that Star Citizen looks phenomenal with Global Illumination. Shame it's not ready to roll out yet, but it'll be worth the wait in the end. Work also continued on several longer-term features, such as fire support for entities, a screen space occlusion effect for gas clouds to increase their lighting detail, and support for Maelstrom, which is the new physics destruction system. Again, fingers crossed for CitizenCon to see that. For the in-game branding team, who are responsible for managing all of the Inverse brands, they progressed with navigational signage for the exterior of the underground facilities, these new underground facilities, as well as creating holograms and navigational signage for an upcoming event. Now this event, I presume, is the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo, but these new underground facilities are really coming along well, as we can see from these images, which, if you ask me, this particular underground facility looks like it is actually situated on Microtech. So it looks like they might not just debut with Pyro. Of course, this could still be the case, but seeing it in the Stanton system tells me that they are looking to roll these out to Stanton as well, but whether they're before Pyro or after or at the same time, we don't know. They are looking really great, and I do look forward to all the missions that they will involve. Even just entering these underground facilities to pick up a small amount of cargo will be a lot of fun. Now for the Interactables team, they progressed with various upcoming content, including a variety of new style props, and supported the ongoing development of the new underground facilities. We can also see a new medical case, which looks to be holding a single paramed gun with 5 additional refills and a few hemazal pens. A great piece of kit, and I do suspect that as we go forwards from here on out, we will begin to see more cases and more bespoke storage options for all of the items and things like weapons in the verse and gadgets, especially things like the multi-tool, which I believe is part of the CitizenCon digital goodies pack. Now the lighting team mainly focused on Pyro, although performance improvements were made across Stanton as well, and as we can see from this work in progress image, the lighting team have been working on these new upcoming settlements to be found throughout the verse, including Stanton. Hoping we see them this year, as I believe their original intention was to get them in for 320, but that clearly got pushed back. Now for the locations team, last month they continued developing a variety of new locations for Pyro. They also worked on several legacy locations in pursuit of maintaining the wider Stanton system, and supported the mission feature team on one of their upcoming initiatives. And finally, the Sandbox and Organics team progressed with several upcoming locations, including Pyro and these new underground facilities. So, moving on to the narrative team, they completed work on another batch of missions for Pyro's organizations and gangs. Nice to hear they are working on many more missions for Pyro, as not only will it be exciting to see the new planets, the moons, the points of interest come along, but CIG are also trying to fill out Pyro with missions and content to do when it finally comes along. The team also worked on several new missions for the Stanton system, including Blockade Runner and Data Heist, both we heard on Inside Star Citizen recently. Scripts were written for automated computer systems that will be used in missions and at new locations. The design team continued improving the lives of AI around both Stanton and Pyro, with more naturalistic behavioural patterns, and several discussions were held focusing on how they can better capture the feel of Pyro based on its NPC population and how they behave at stations and outposts. And hopefully by then, with server meshing implemented, we will actually get to see the NPCs behaving as intended, thus seeing all the work that the team have been doing to bring character to them. For the online services team, they worked on the seeding service, which is a new star service for server meshing. A refactor of the character customizer began, with the goal being to replace the backend used by the current customizer to leverage both the entitlement and identity services to reduce the database load on login, and persist DNA and customizations across patches. Now this is great, as it sounds to me like they are saying our characters' images, who we create as a player, will persist from patch to patch, so we won't have to create them every time. Hopefully even after a wipe as well. Now the team also continued to update the easy anti-cheat in an attempt to eliminate false positives, as well as implement sanctions in the future. And finally, for the online services team, significant time was spent on database research to resolve some of the recent deadlock issues and explore other potential database providers. Now this is again likely Chris lighting a fire under the asses of the current database providers just to push them to get their database up to snuff, but I am glad to hear that they are researching more and more into this stuff, and although I would of course prefer them not to have to change database providers, I really hope they can completely rectify the issues with the current one, as that would save a lot of time and headaches. Now for the R&D team, they worked on a variety of important updates to the game engine that they say will be shown to the community soon. Now, if I recall correctly, the R&D team's main focus over the last few months have been improving the temporal render mode for atmospheric and volumetric clouds, and it will be very interesting to see what work they have done, I'm assuming for CitizenCon, and hopefully it means we can get proper cloud formations that don't just look great, but also perform great, and the other teams can then get on with working on weather, as clouds are a prerequisite before they can really bring proper weather systems in. Now, for the tech art and animation team, they supported numerous teams across the project with a wide variety of animation tasks, including asset implementation and maintenance. They say great progress was made on creating and implementing creatures across the persistent universe, and as part of this, work was done on toolsets for rigging and physics proxy authoring and implementation. Now, this is wonderful news, as it sounds like they are deep into getting the persistent universe populated with all manner of fauna. Oh, I can't wait to see this work. Now, also, comms calls and dialogue were a major focus for this team, with the goal being to create content at speed, and finally, they continue to provide additional faces for the game to source from, providing much more variation to NPC populations. For the UI team, alongside debugging for 3.21 and future releases, they supported mission features on the blockade runner screens, and with final touch-ups for another ongoing mandate. Plus, the UI team progressed with the Reputation app, adding new styles to the item shops, and they are currently doing final tests on Pyro's airlock screens. Now, I imagine this shop reputation work is for the shop discounts players can earn through increasing reputation with various organizations in the persistent universe. Now, finally, we have the visual effects team, who progressed with a variety of Pyro locations, plus several vehicles were worked on, with one being completed. No hints as to which one though. So there you have it, some great work going on there, lots to look forward to when Pyro is revealed, as they have been slaving away getting this new system to a whole new unseen standard, ready for its release. But with that said, if you do appreciate my videos, please do consider subscribing and helping the channel to grow. We are getting very close to 60,000. Also, come and hang out over at twitch.tv/supermacbrother. You are all more than welcome over there. Always have a great time hanging out with you all. And if you are new to the verse, it is a great place to ask your questions. Hit the thumbs up if you don't mind, does the channel a big favour, and tick that notification bell if you would like to be notified when my videos go live. Again, a big thank you to my patrons and channel members. Cannot do this without you guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.